Welcome. This week, we're going to go over lessons 73 to 76. How did your children do last week adding the 4-digit numbers? Did they like it? Were you impressed? It's pretty impressive. Well, this week, we're actually going to have a fairly light week because 2 days are review and 1 is an assessment. But before we get going with that, let's see what materials will be needed. You'll need your abacus, your worksheets, the Yellow is the Sun book, the math card game book, the place value cards, the basic number deck, along with about 40 of the multiplication cards with numbers greater than 10. Lesson 73, continuing the pattern. Notice in the warm-up, you have some more 4-digit addition. So this is great practice. Especially if your child may have struggled a little bit, it's okay. And if they need to use the abacus, let them use the abacus. Make sure you read the objectives because that is what is letting you know what you're going to be accomplishing in this lesson. And so mainly this lesson is about counting by 5s, 10s, 2s, continuing the pattern. And it's going to let you know when you're working on that specific pattern of what you're counting by, which number to start with, because you don't start at the very beginning. So that could be a little tricky for some kids. And then on the worksheet, let your children work as much as they can independently. Now, you may have to read it to them, just depending on where they're at in their reading level. Some children learn better with the oral, so maybe you have to say the numbers. I don't know. Each child is so different. Some of my children were great working with it on their own, and some of my children did better if I read it to them. And as far as using the abacus, look at the notes. Let your child be the one to decide if they need to use it or not. Lesson 74, review. So you're going to be reviewing for the assessment, but the assessment isn't until lesson 76. Remember, you also have that 5th day, so if you have to take a little bit more time, you might want to take an extra day to go over the review. You'll see in the next lesson, it's mainly playing games. Or you may want to use that 5th day after you do the assessment to go over some things that maybe they struggled on as they're going over the review. If they need to use manipulatives like the abacus, let them. It's okay. But also encourage them to try to do it without it first. And if they really are struggling, then go ahead. Give them the abacus to use. Lesson 75, review games. So basically, you're going to be playing games to review what the children have been learning. And these games are really good because, like the addition bingo game, you're pretty much covering all the addition facts. Then you have the bead trading game, so they're working into the thousands and practicing with trading. And the last game is the mental addition game. And remember, this one has a blog. So if you need to remind yourself how to play it, this is where those multiplication cards are that I told you needed in the materials. This is where those will be needed, is for that game. Last lesson of the week, 76, assessment 2. An assessment covers everything your child has been learning since the beginning, since lesson 1. So give them their worksheets. If you need to read the problems for them, go ahead and read it. If they need to use their abacus, let them use it. Like I said previously, encourage them to try it without the abacus first, but if they need it, of course, let them use it. And remember, we do have the 5th day if you are schooling 4 days a week. If you want to break the assessment up into 2 days, you can. If you want to have them complete the assessment in 1 day and then work on areas that they struggled in as review for that 5th day, you have options. Do what works best for you and your child. Well, we are done for this week. That was quick, wasn't it? Of course, when you have most of your lessons as review or assessment, there's really not a whole bunch that I need to go over with you. I hope your children do well. If not, I don't want to be like a downer, but sometimes they don't do well. It's okay. Remember, we can practice. You have that fifth day. They're going to have more chances to tackle some of this stuff as we go. So be encouraged. They'll get it. Join me next week as we go over lessons 77 through 80. Until then.